he went to go fall asleep again and he almost fell in the river because he didn't know he was on a pack raft. So he went to like fall asleep on the pack raft. I had to grab him and like pull him out because he was going to fall in the river. We were all in hysterics. It was so funny.
Welcome to the Dark Zone, an adventure racing podcast. This is your host, Brian Gatens. In adventure racing lingo, a dark zone is a time when, due to darkness or safety, teams are paused on the course before continuing with the race. During that time, stories are exchanged, friendships are kindled, spirits are restored, and teams have a chance to prepare for the next challenge. We hope that you make good use of this dark zone. We're glad that you're here. This episode is being sponsored by the New York Adventure Racing Association. NYRA is proud to present a variety of races in and around New York and New Jersey, and takes particular pride in their flagship 24-hour race, The Longest Day, our USARA Regional Championship. You can learn more about NYRA at www.nyra, that's NYARA.org. Today we are joined by two members of Team Fear Youth. 18-year-old Molly and 16-year-old Fynn, along with their teammates, recently completed GODZone, New Zealand's world-famous 10-day expedition adventure race. They are strong racers, at times both funny and wise, and they do a great job on this episode. Thank you also to Ben Racing's Jason Magness for joining us as well for this episode. Jason was the lead social media analyst for Team Fear Youth during the race, and he brings great questions to today's episode. Enjoy this episode, and thank you, Molly, Fynn, and Jason, for joining the Dark Zone, an adventure racing podcast. I am joined today by Team Fear Youth. We have Molly, who's with us, Fynn, who's with us, and Jason Magness of Team Ben Racing is going to help out with some of our questions, and he's on as co-host tonight. So welcome, everybody, to the Dark Zone. We're delighted that you're here. What brings you here is that you recently completed GODZone, which, as our listeners may know, is one of the most storied and biggest adventure races that take place in the entire world. And this one is set in New Zealand. And Team Fear Youth was the youngest team that took part. And we've invited Molly and Fynn on board to talk a bit about it. Who are you? Where are you from? Paint a picture for our listeners.
I'm from Lumsden, which is just in northern Southland, and two of our, Josiah and Zach, are both from Tianau as well. So we've got quite a good little group getting around Tianau. We can all train together.
Yeah, I'm from North Canterbury, so that's what, like 9 hours drive from where the boys live. But yeah, we're Fear Youth, so we made a team up. So Fear is an acronym for Fiordland Adventure Racing Society. So that's like a society that's in Fiordland that our coach Andy Magness is running. And yeah, so we're kind of just the youth part of, I suppose, that society, and we've just made a team up and we entered GODZone, which was pretty cool, which was we finished a week and 1 day ago. So yeah.
You're 8 days past GODZone. What is GODZone? What kind of race is that? And what did you know about it when you went into it?
GODZone's like it's just a adventure race and expedition adventure race, and it's sort of renowned for being one of the longer ones, I guess. But my dad has done one of them, so I'd sort of known a bit about it and been pretty interested in it through Andy's races as well. They're sort of pitched as training races for GODZone, I guess. They're pretty ideal training, so had known a bit about it through there, and sort of was pretty keen to give it a go.
So, as part of the youth team, Molly, how old are you?
I'm 18. So, me and Fynn are actually the youngest ever boy and girl that's ever done GODZone, and I suppose probably some of the youngest kids that have ever done a long expedition race such as GODZone, which is pretty remarkable, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, the GODZone, I've actually been involved with it for a long time because my dad's actually done 5 of them. So I've kind of always wanted to do it and always wanted to be the youngest ever girl. But so when I got the phone call in July last year from the boys, it was pretty exciting. I was very excited.
And Fynn, how old are you?
I am 16. So yeah, I also tick the box for being youngest ever to do GODZone. And yeah, I'd sort of, like Dad did it 2 years ago. He did it 2 or 3 years ago in 2018. So yeah, I've been pretty involved in that and sort of become interested in it. So I was pretty keen to one day do it, but didn't really think that I was going to be doing it at this age. I was thinking more 18, 20 upwards.
You know, when you're a lot older, 18 was when you were going to do it, as opposed to 16.
Yeah.
So
So I just want to put a little bit in context for some of the American listeners. One, I love hearing the Kiwis talk about GODZone as if it's just like, oh, it's just this little adventure race. One of the interesting things for the American listeners is I've done GODZone 3 times, been lucky enough. And the first thing I discovered going down there is people know what adventure racing is. Like in the States, not many people, but, we were down in Tiana, which is where my brother lives and where some of the Fear Youth train. And you go to the grocery store and people are like, oh, you're American. What are you doing in New Zealand? And you say, oh, I'm here to do GODZone. And they know what that is. They're like, oh, good on you. That's amazing. Good luck in the race. Everybody knows what GODZone is. Like everybody in the country has heard of the race, either follows it or knows people that have done it. So, it's pretty remarkable as a race. They're really tough. They're really long. They're really hard. More on the side of like the Patagonia Expedition race. These are really big, huge races. And the other thing is, I think it's even more remarkable for the kids because, it's not like there are not other kids that have got into adventure racing or wanted to do it, but this is like the big, big race. And, for them to not only be youth, 16 and 18, but for the whole team, it's not like they had an adult that had raced. It's not like Nathan Favre took them under their wing and said, come race with me and we'll do okay. It was just like literally 4 kids out there in this huge expedition race that, that they had to make their own decisions, navigation. So, when I heard this was happening as a racer, I just became even more fascinated, even kind of knowing some of their backstory of whether they were going to survive or get lost or, like fall apart on the first stage. So, it's a pretty, for those U.S. listeners, like it's a huge race and a country that's been really supporting the youth races. So it was a really amazing thing to watch.
So Molly, how long was the race supposed to be? How many days did the race go for?
Well, we did it in, was it 8 days then? Yeah, 8 days. And,
yeah, just over.
Yeah. And, well, it was actually the longest ever, I think, one of the longest expedition races that has, happened before. I think it was approximately 710 kilometers. So we crossed actually the whole of the South Island of New Zealand, which was pretty cool to watch back on the little tracker. And, yeah, it was, so we did it in 8 days and the top team did it in 5 or 6 days, which is very long.
It was 6 days.
Which is really long in comparison to other GODZones. The top team have done it in like 3 to 4 days. So lots and lots of people got short coursed because it just, the monster stage took us, was it 50 something hours or was it 60 hours? 62 hours?
That was a huge trek, correct?
Yeah, 62 hours was that one stage, stage 3.
And I think, and if I'm correct, didn't everybody get clobbered on that stage? I mean, it wasn't just you; it was the whole field had a really tough time on that stage.
GODZone put out after the race started. GODZone put out the expected times for each of the leagues, and the expected time for GODZone was that the fastest teams would do stage 3 in 30 hours, and the slowest teams would do it in 50 hours. And Avaya did it they were 50 hours.
Okay,
and they're the fastest team on the course by a mile.
Gotcha. And how early in the race was that section?
That was 6 hours in.
Yeah. So the first day of the race. So let's paint a picture. So, and we can put your youth to the side for a second because we'll come back to that. But you're racers and you're in this race, and it's the first day, and you're going into what is supposed to be a section that's going to take a while, and it takes twice as long for most people, sometimes even more than that, for how people went along. Without even talking about the rest of the race, which we'll get to, where was your head during that section? Like, what was your talk amongst the team to yourselves? Like, we're going to get helied out of here. What are we going to do? Like, or did you just keep rolling forward? Because that's fascinating. Don't get me wrong. You're a young team, and we'll talk about your youth for a second. But the fact that you're racers and you're out there and you have to work your way through that crazy early hard stage. How did that go for all of you?
Do we have enough
we had
food
done it
left?
similar. Yeah. It was a case of, but we had done a sort of, I guess, in terms of length and like distance and how much pack rafting it was, race one of the Fair Society races sort of a month earlier, called the WTF, the Wilderness Traverse in Fiordland. And so we were just thinking we were thinking about it as just another WTF. So we're just getting through that. We knew that we'd done that race before, so we're just getting through a WTF, and then we weren't even worrying about the rest of the race. It was just get through that and then go from there. But yeah, it was sort of got halfway through, and then everyone's the topic of how much food have we got and how we're going to make it last was coming up pretty regularly. So yeah, we scraped through on not enough food, but that's right, that happens.
But clearly you go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Some teams went, so we got to the Dart River, which was the end of that big trek. And like we had these two volunteers that were there, and she was saying that some teams went 24 hours without eating because they just had no food left because everyone thought that it was going to be half the time that they said. So it was actually pretty, I suppose, bad organising with the race directors, because it was actually dangerous for teams to be out there for so long with so little food and prepared for that. So yeah, well, we scraped through, but some teams weren't happy.
Why do you think it took so long? Was it the distance, or was it the quality of the terrain? The
quality of the terrain, probably, and the Pike River, which was a pack rafting section right in the middle. It usually takes about 5 hours, I think, but it was real low. The river was real low, so you're getting out and pushing a lot of rapids, and so that was probably an hour, if not more, slower than usual. So it meant that we missed the dark zone on the Pike. So there was a dark zone and we missed it. We got half an hour from the end of the Pike, and then the dark zone forced us off the river. But that, like most teams, were sort of aiming to beat that dark zone, but we were sitting at about 10th there, and we missed the dark zone. So it was pretty tight. And also like the quality of the terrain. There was a stage. There's a bit above Hidden Falls, probably a stint maybe 7 Ks. It was just tight bush. We were moving at half a K an hour for probably 5 or 6 hours. It was just slow going.
Gotcha. How was the weather during the race? Did you see every season?
Oh, it was actually pretty good. Like we had, I think, was it 1 day of rain, and and otherwise we had pretty, like, normally in the GODZone you would see 4 seasons and it would be raining. Like normally the weather on the GODZones are terrible, but we only had 1 day of rain, so our weather was actually pretty good over the whole time.
So clearly with that first stage being as hard as it was, first stage, I guess you were fortunate that the weather didn't turn against you, because that would have been a whole different factor too. Like having that terrain, running out of food, and having the weather go bad on you would have been really something else.
Oh, that was the bad weather day.
That was the bad weather day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the day of bad weather was where we were at about the highest altitude that we got to. We went up over Park Pass, and it was real cold and wet. So we're pretty cold up there, but we're lucky that it wasn't bad the whole time.
So it's really nice that the bad weather arrived on the hardest day. That's good. That's adventure racing, right?
Yeah, it was a good choice. Yeah,
that's the way it's going to be.
And also, one of our team members, we at that transition before the big 60-hour thing that we did, that transition was absolutely mental, and Andy was just like crazy at that transition. And then Josiah, one of our teammates, forgot his rain jacket, so he didn't have a rain jacket for the whole of that time, and so it was freezing cold, and so we had like a bivvy bag that we cut holes in, like head holes and arm holes, and we made like this dress for him, and he was like borderline hypothermic the whole time.
And so your other two teammates, and they couldn't join us tonight. Well, how old are they and what are their names?
So Josiah is 19. He is studying at Dunedin Otago University. He's doing medicine, so he can make it. He's busy with his school. And Zach Pearson is 19 as well, and he's doing chopper school or helicopter school in Wanaka. So,
who was the lead navigator?
The lead navigator was Zach, but he his hips got really bad halfway through the race, and he had to pull out halfway through the race.
Yeah, I read that he was hellied out. How's he feeling now?
I think he's good. He's recovering, but I think he's still pretty sore. Like, he struggled to run the last 20 meters to the finish line with us at the end, and yeah, he's still pretty sore.
Okay, so after that first monster day comes through, right? You get the bad weather, the high altitude, the food. After you survive that first section, how did the rest of the race go for you? What did you transition to? Did you get on a bicycle?
Yeah, we transitioned to a 90k bike. We were lucky. It was quite a flat, sort of easy-ish bike, I guess, easy nav and stuff. So it was a real good refuel sort of leg to get you back warm and dry and fed again before the rest of the race.
That bike ride was actually one of my favorite legs. Like, it was beautiful. We were biking along, like, on sunset along what's called Lake Wakatipu. And it was that's like one of New Zealand's most like scenic lakes, and it's in Queenstown. And we were like biking along like the beachfront, I suppose, and it was pretty cool. Like the sun was setting behind all the Queenstown mountains, and it was beautiful.
This was day 2.
Yes,
no,
it must have been 3.
No, 4. Day 3. It was Monday.
Yeah.
Day 3.
Is it all one big blur? Do all the days run together?
Yeah. We were saying that.
The big trek took you 2 days, right? Because you guys were 60 hours. So that was day 2 and day 3. And then you're on day 3, you're on the bike, right? I remember, because watching it, I was like, I knew when the cutoffs were. And I was basically watching Avaya, who took 50 hours to get to the trek that they were supposed to do in 30. So, Avaya, the best team in the world, was almost twice as slow as they thought they were going to be. And even just seeing the video of them coming out of the bush at the end of that, I'm used to Chris Foran and Nathan not looking that tired. And you just see them emerge from the bird and they look wrecked, right? Yeah. And so you're just wondering what the other teams are going to look like. But I was watching you guys on the start of the stage 5, which was the next trek, knowing when the cutoff was at the end of that, because that was the first big cutoff at the end of the Air Mountains, right?
Yeah.
So you guys made short work of that bike, but it was pretty intimidating and anxious to watch you guys with knowing what was to come the whole way.
Did you find after you had the big trek and then you went to the 90K bike and to your point, Molly, it was refreshing, right? It was good to get on. Going back into the Erie Mountain trek. How did you feel mentally going into that? Were you like, oh, we have to do this again? By that point, how much did you sleep? Where did it get hard for you? Was it going into that trek?
We were in a pretty good space going into that trek, I guess. We were we knew that there was a cutoff at the end of it, but we'd been given the rundown by Andy, and he said, as long as you can keep moving, then you should make it quite happily. So we're pretty fizzed to just be on the full course still. Lots of teams had been, there was a cutoff at the end of that long trek, so you had to be in by 8, and we had made that. So lots of teams have got short course, so we're just happy we're still on full course, and we're just fizzed to be keeping going.
And how did that trek go?
My feet were good at that stage in the race. Molly's feet, she'd started to get a few blisters, and Zach's feet were pretty bad. Zach, by then, was his hips were starting to flare up. He was a bit due to being hungry and a bit due to just being tired off that last big trek. He was starting to get pretty sore. So we were just pretty much trying to take the load off Zach, and we were going good for a start. We took a bit of a different route through the Air Mountains, sort of a bit of local knowledge, I guess. We knew of a couple of better ridges that would have been faster had we all been 100%, but that's adventure racing. You're never going to be 100%. So we took 14 hours, I think, to get to the first checkpoint, and Avaya was 12 hours. So we were still ticking along pretty good.
Let's mention how big that is. That Avaya, who won the race, the biggest team, the best team in the world by a mile, what took them 12 only took you 14?
Yeah, we would probably have bet them. We would have bet their time if Zach's hips were all good. We were busy. Yeah. We were like, yes, this is the best route ever. Go Fynn.
So when you were out there and you were trekking, were you talking about what you would say to Avaya if you passed them during the race?
We didn't have real high hopes of passing them during the race. We're pretty keen to give them a bit of stick at the end if we beat them. But we weren't planning on passing them. But
just in case it happened, you were ready to talk a little smack, as we say here in America. Yeah. Very nice. We're fizzing for talking really smack. So you must have been flying high. You come through that trek. You do it in 14. You had the 14-hour number there. The trek is continuing. How did now? I know that Zach was having a rough time with his hips. Molly, your feet were starting to go. How did you? Now this is an important question for our listeners. How did you hold it all together? What was your mental attitude like? Was somebody the cheerleader? Was somebody carrying gear? Like everybody during a race hits a high point and a low point. How did your team make its way through that?
Go on, Molly.
Well, our team actually, like, I feel like our attitude toward the whole race was pretty good. Like, we had pretty good team dynamics, which is really good. I'd say I'd be the motivator, but like we're all kind of gel as a team, and we knew that Zach was his hips were going and my feet were pretty bad, but I just sucked up the pain. I just took heaps of Panadol and taped them up and stuff like that. So yeah, by that, when we got to that 14-hour mark, we were in pretty good spirits. We didn't know Zach was going to go downhill that much, did we, Fynn? But after that, it was definitely have highs and lows the whole race. But when there is highs, you kind of just have to take advantage of them and feel your best, I suppose.
And you remind yourself that when you hit a low, you're going to come back to that high eventually.
Definitely. Yeah, that's the 100%. You're never going to be, well, you hope you wouldn't be low the whole time, but it's crazy how emotions and, your attitude towards things just go up and down. You're like, what the heck?
Yeah, you basically have every single human emotion during the course of a race, right? You went from joy to sadness to crying to laughing. And the important thing, and we know this, and I definitely, Jason, jumping on this, is I'm sure that you have your thoughts on it. It's okay to be low, provided everybody is not low at the same time, right? Because that's when things just come apart.
Yeah, definitely.
No, we definitely had times. We definitely had times where a couple of people were pretty low and just battling, but no, we never really had any times where everyone was just in a real hole. So there was always someone to keep people moving, keep people motivated, I guess.
What was your food like? Did you bring real food? Did you bring stuff in bags and bars, or did you bring a variety of stuff?
We were really lucky. We were sponsored by Real Meals, which is Nathan Fave's dehydrated company.
We can't get those here, by the way. They won't ship those yet to America. We can't get them. I heard they're great.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. No, they were great. So we had heaps of them, which kept us going throughout the race. Them and Crafty Wicker Bars. We were also sponsored by Crafty Wicker Bars, which they're just a great, like, filling muesli bar. They're pretty awesome, just grains and seeds and heaps of energy. So they keep us ticking along.
I'm pretty sure they ship.
But,
I'm pretty sure they're in America.
The Crafty Wacker bars?
Yeah.
Not easy to get. Like, you might be able to go to some import store. After talking to you guys last time, I looked up all the awesome food you use, and that's what I said. I was very sad because, you just talked about all this great food that we don't get over here. So listeners just have to go sign up for the next GODZone and then bring a ton back.
Exactly.
That's
we'll bring an extra suitcase and carry it back, sell it on the black market.
I feel our nutrition as a team as a whole went really well. Like, none of us were, apart from that 60-hour big Patcraft trek when everyone was kind of running low on food because we didn't know that we were going to be out there for so long. Other than that, I feel like as a team we had very much we all had meals at the same time, so it was just easier. And then like our snacks, like we would snack all the time. As a team, I think we did really well with the nutrition side of things, which is great because nutrition is so important when it comes to adventure racing, because you just have to keep your energy as high as you can without, I suppose, having stomach issues, which is good that no one had anything like that, because that would be a disaster if you had someone that had stomach issues. I can't imagine that. But
so all four of you, so for the 8 days you were out there, all four of you, your stomachs pretty much held together. Like it was steady with food. You were fine. You were, excellent. Because that's not always the case.
Yeah, I can't. I wonder now, listening to them, like maybe that is one of youth superpowers. Because I don't know of another older adventure racing team, made up of old guys like me and you, that like the stomach stuff just gets to be a bit more of an issue. Although, my twin brother who helps mentor these guys, he swears that he could do a whole expedition just on lollies, which are like, cheap grocery store gummies. Right. And he could eat them for like 5 days, it'd be fine. But he's never done it, so I don't know if it's true. But yeah, I'm impressed with you guys.
I sometimes wonder, when it comes to nutrition, I wonder, well, first off, I think Fear Youth had youth on its side, right? I think that when you're younger, you tend to have a lot more, you could dump a lot more in your body and you're used to it. When you're in your 50s, things begin to fall apart a bit. And I'm sure by being in my 50s, I'm like 1,000 years old to you guys, but you'll be here someday. And so I think you're right. And I think also too, Jason, to that point, I think that there are some people who just have cast iron stomachs. They got a system down and they hold it together. And it's great to hear from Team Fear Youth that was one thing you did not have to worry about, that everything held together there. Now, I'm assuming that you've done a fair amount of training for this. You must have practiced with all of this food beforehand, right? You didn't bring new food into the race.
Those real meals, I hadn't trained on I'd never done a race with eating real meals before, so I just used cold backcountries, which tended to make me a bit gassy, but the real meals did the same. As Molly can testify.
But everybody gets gassy during a race. For those of you at home, it's going to happen.
I was especially bad. I was especially bad.
Yeah. Well, just go. That's when you say like, "Hey, I need to be up front now."
Yeah. I need a moment.
You lead the charge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a. So I think one of the things that I'm super impressed by is that you guys were able, because I know you've done a bunch of training with Andy and with the WTFs, which I also think is one of the best race names ever, because really all adventure racing is kind of WTF, but it also stands for the Wilderness Traverse of Fjordland. But and I know you guys have done really well in a bunch of those races. But what was it like? Like even Andy's longest race tends to be full bore racing for like 48 hours, maybe 60 hours if you're unlucky. But most of his races are over in 2 days, 2.5 days. And so it basically you hit that zone, that unknown, like what's it like from here at the end of that first big trek. Like that was your 60-hour mark.
Yeah.
Right? And now you've got this massive chunk of race with no real life like racing experience. And so like you're going into this kind of cool place of big unknown. What did that feel like? Did you guys talk about that at all? Like, hey, this is all new.
Yeah, we talked about it lots. Like also sort of like we knew that our bodies would probably hold up. Like we'd sort of, after those 2-day races, we still had sort of talked about how we felt like we could have gone for longer, but it was more like the sleep deprivation side of things. Like it's all good going through night, but then you get to 3 and 4 and 5 nights, and it was pretty uncharted territory. So we talked about it a lot, but it was just interesting to see how our bodies coped going through all that.
And
I
so,
suppose.
go ahead.
I suppose as like we kind of just broke the race down into sections. Like once we got that first section done, it was kind of like, all right, well, we just pretended kind of we're woken up fresh and we're just going to go do another WTF or whatever. Like we kind of forgot about that first bit and then went into the second bit and went into the third bit. And I mean, that was definitely my mindset, like it, so that it wasn't as overwhelming, because obviously 8 days racing is quite overwhelming if you think of it in one big block. So then you kind of just have to break it down into sections. And as being youth, I feel like our bodies actually held pretty well. Like we were talking about it, we're like, we actually don't feel terrible and we don't look terrible coming into, transitions and stuff. Like, we were actually talking about it. Like, we found like our bodies were actually pretty good for 8 days.
I guess like our just being young and our recovery times faster, we were probably still like it wasn't compounding the whole race. We were probably bouncing back a wee bit. When you get a chill biking leg like that, then your body has a chance to sort of repair itself a wee bit from something like that. Just being younger and faster recovering. So yeah, it was pretty good.
I would also agree too the fact that there was a double-edged sword there. One was you had no idea what you were going into, which could be a negative. You had no idea what you're going into, which is a positive, because you didn't know what to be scared of, right? You had capacity, you had each other, right? You had a good team dynamic. Your bodies were holding itself together reasonably so. And so you probably had the confidence, if you will, of ignorance. You didn't know what was coming. So you're like, well, I'm not worried because when I get there, I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very much go with the flow. We'll see what's going to happen.
And to your point, Molly, the genius there is breaking the race down into sections, into pieces. You're not thinking 8 days. You're thinking from this section to that section. And when you get there, you'll just repeat it and you'll do it again. Which psychologically helps you because then there's no weight on you.
Yeah, because like, for example, the 56K trek, we're just like, okay, that's just another tacky traverse, which is a race that Andy puts on. Like, we've done that before, we can do it again. But it's just smack bang in the middle of a GODZone. But we kind of just put mission to mission. We've done this all before, but let's just do it all in one.
Yeah.
So
we definitely thought of it league by league, and there was just you sort of got like if you got halfway through, if you thought about it as a race, it'd just be like, well, I'm not getting through this. I'm too puffed now. I'm not going to last another 5 days of this. But then you get to the end of the league, and then you get to the end of the next league, and then suddenly it's like, oh, we're 3 leagues away. It's achievable now. We can.
Because there's a point in the race where you go from where you're closer to the finish than to the start. And by then, it's just keep going, right? Yeah. Coming back to your race itself, you went through so you had the Erie Mountains trek, right? And that was big. What followed that?
There was a monster bike league that followed that, which was 170 Ks up through the Nevis Valley, and then it went up along the Old Man Range, which is sort of in central Otago of New Zealand, of the South Island, and then it went down and through Roxburgh to Lake Onslow.
What was the terrain like? Was it technical? Was it fire road? Was it single track?
It was mostly 4-wheel drive track. So all along the Old Man Range was sort of rutty 4-wheel drive track, quite technical. Well, not technical as such, but just slow going on a bike. Like you can't just go head down and pedal. You've got to be pretty alert to be not slipping over.
Gotcha.
Hey, Molly.
Oh God! Don't even talk about it.
What happened, Molly? Let it out.
That bike.
This is safe, Molly. How'd the bike treat you?
That was the worst day for me. I hated that day. It was awful. I was falling over all the time on these big slippery clay ruts, and then I just did not like it. I liked one part of it, and that was the downhill bit, and we were looking over like this. We were above the clouds, so it's called like an inversion layer, and we were above that clouds. And then it was sunny and everything like that. And then I think it was really early in the morning, and then I was at the back and I was watching all the three boys go into that inversion layer of the cloud, and it just looked so cool. And then they just like gone, and then we went below the cloud, and it was wasn't a very nice day above below the clouds, but yeah, that was pretty cool to see that. I was like, oh, I really want to take a photo right now, but I don't have a phone, so in my brain.
So you had that rough day on the bike, and it sounds like it was very technical. Not technical, but it was you had to keep your head about you, otherwise you were going to be on the ground. It sounds like a lot of climbing, a big descent, and then did you go from there on to pack rafts? Did you get back on your feet? What followed?
Pack raft trick.
We followed it. Yeah. So there was a sort of a 45 to 50K pack raft trick. It was almost it wasn't a row game, but it was quite a micro nav trick. There was lots of checkpoints in a pretty small area. So, it was a bit of a navigationally technical, probably the most technical part of the race.
So at any point during the race, did you have any major navigational errors?
No, we had nothing major. We in that big trek, there was where we got dark zone, there was apparently a track that was called the Pike Track that went to Lake Alabaster where we could start paddling again. And that was a very poor excuse for a track. There was it just went straight through a swamp, and took us, I think, about 6 hours, and we probably went about 4Ks. We should have stopped and slept. That was a bit of a rookie mistake, just pushing on through there in the nighttime. But apart from that, dropped down the wrong ridge a couple of times, but it was nothing major. We might have lost half an hour.
Well, and credit to you.
Fynn and Zach did incredibly well. Like, their navigation was just remarkable. Like, especially for Fynn, he's 16, and he was navving like majority of the time once Zach's hips went, and oh my gosh, hats off to you, Fynn. Like, seriously.
So question for you, Fynn, based on that. And obviously you're involved with FEAR, and you're involved in the adventure racing community, and your parents are adventure racers. Being that GODZone was the biggest race you've ever done, this is obviously the biggest nav you've ever done. But how much navigation did you do before this? Did you have did you do for multi-day stuff, or was this brand new for you? How hard was it?
Nah, I'd done quite a few sort of 24-hour adventure races, and like 24-hour and 12-hour, maybe I might have done 4 24-hour races and 3 or 4 row games and stuff. So I'd done quite a bit of nav, and I guess the bush and just off-track navigation sort of stuff. So I'd done quite a bit, but it was a lot different, this race being such macro nav. Like, it was, I think we were about 90 to 100 Ks from the transition at the checkpoint at the transition of the stage 3 to the next checkpoint. There's 100 Ks to it, so it was pretty much finding a route more than navving to a checkpoint most of the time.
And so did you struggle with, having done smaller races, every time you find a checkpoint, there's a bit of a dopamine hit, right? Oh, there's the checkpoint, and you feel good, and it's amazing how when you feel bad and you find a checkpoint, like a switch is thrown. Did you struggle psychologically with such big distance between those checkpoints?
Yeah, it does sort of feel like you're pushing shit uphill. That's probably not the best way of putting it, but yeah, just it feels like you're grinding away for long periods of time and not really getting any reward for it. But yeah, it was just, it's sort of it throws you a wee bit, going from doing races where you get a checkpoint every 2 hours to where you get a checkpoint every day.
Right. You're lucky.
Yeah.
Right. You go days and days in between. Yeah. Was there at any point during the race where, when you were navigating, you had faith that you're going in the right direction, but you began to suspect that you were completely lost? Or did you always kind of know you were in the right spot?
Yeah, there were a few times in the race where it's just, you feel like you just got to trust your compass, but you feel like it's leading you totally wrong way. Like when we were going down from Park Pass in the dark, sort of on quite a big, just open, flat sort of valley, open and clearings and stuff. And there was another team that was walking the other way towards us, and they were sort of said g'day as they walked past, and they were walking completely opposite direction to us. So it throws you a lot when something like that happens, but you just got to have faith in your navigation, and we ended up popping out in the right spot. So I think we were right.
So I have a question. When that team passed you, did you all confirm with each other that you were not hallucinating? Like, were you like, did you guys see that too?
yeah. No, everyone was getting. It was the middle of the night, and everyone was hallucinating anyway. So yeah, it was sort of a bit of a shock. But
So when you were hallucinating, Molly, what did
line.
you see? When you were out there and you're hallucinating, Molly, what did you say? Did you see gremlins, trolls? What was your?
I actually saw huts like in shelters. So I was like thinking these trees were like a shelter for us to go sleep in, but no, it wasn't. It was like just like, and what else was I seeing? I was seeing, and then I was seeing the rocks as dogs. So, but otherwise, that was only one time I hallucinated, so I was pretty happy with that. But
and how many hours in? What day was that for you?
The first night, or the second night.
Oh my goodness! The second night, the massive trek that you put you out there for hours and hours and hours. Fynn, about you, what were your hallucinations?
My best one was we were going down a hill on day 2, and we're going down the slip, and all of a sudden there was a llama like running off down the slip ahead of me, which was sort of strange to see in field and bush. But I saw those, and then going down the pike, there was a few that just kept seeing huts and like white bait stands and stuff on the side of the river. But apart from that, just a few. Like you get like shadows. Just every shadow looks like a possum or something, but nothing too major.
Fynn was really tired one night, and he was like falling asleep, and then he literally like I watched him just fall asleep, and he was like so close to falling over. I went like to catch him because he was gonna fall over, and then the funniest thing was when we were on the Dart River. Was that what? No, wait, no.
No, it was on the Serpentine River.
Yeah, so it was like this big swampy river that was just like we were going nowhere because it was just so just like just awful. Anyway, we were. It was really late at night, and me and Fynn were in the front of the 2 pack crafts, and then Josiah and Dean, who jumped into Zach when Zach got helicoptered out. And Fynn and me were totally asleep. Like the boys were just paddling for us. We were totally asleep. And then we got to a checkpoint, and by this time I was awake paddling, and Fynn was still dead asleep on this pack craft. But Fynn had the passports around his neck. So the passports were the little checkpoint cards that we had to clip the checkpoint in, and we're like trying to wake Fynn up, and he just did not want to get up. Like he was totally like, it was like he was on drugs. Like it was so funny. And we like, Fynn, right, you need to get the passports off your neck. And he was totally, he was awake, but he wasn't cooperating at all. So I had to literally undo all his clothes and get the passports off his neck. And then he went to go fall asleep again, and he almost fell in the river because he didn't know he was on a pack craft. So we went to like fall asleep on the pack craft. I had to grab him and like pull him out because he was going to fall in the river. We were all in hysterics. It was so funny.
I've got no recollection of any of that part of any of being awake then. I went back to sleep for another 10 minutes, and then I can wait, and then I woke up and I can remember from there, but I can't remember any of that stuff. I can't remember that checkpoint or that part of the race.
It was the funniest thing. Like you kind of had to be there to make, like, because we were all so tired, so it just made it even funnier than it actually probably was. Oh yeah, it was very funny.
And then so that was the pack raft section. So what did that lead into next? So now, did you still have Zach with you? Did Zach make it through the pack raft? Yeah, Jason.
So because I think in the Air Mountains, close to the Air Mountains, right before the cutoff, is where Zach got helied out.
Okay.
And then I think it's really cool that GODZone let them do this. These guys ended up hiking down, and I think you guys found like a barn or a house of somebody you knew, and were able to like contact Andy, because it was a supported race. Like every team had a support crew.
Right.
So that COVID and moving around, and then ended up coming into the TA, and not sure if they were going to be able to continue or make the cutoff. But at that point, Andy had been able to call, knowing that Zach was out, another one of the Fear Youth team, like, because they have a team with like 6 or 8 people on it. So he was able to call another teammate, which is, it was like not that far away, and say, hey, do you want to come down and race the rest of the race with these guys on the rest of the full course?
And what's his name?
Yeah,
Dean.
Yeah, and so Dean.
Dean. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, and so I thought they were out watching the race and kind of reporting on it, because we heard that Zach was hellied out, and then the next thing I know, like, I'm seeing photos of four Fear Youth people still racing on the bike, and so.
That's why I got confused, because I remember looking at that, and there's still 4 of them. I couldn't figure out when Zach actually left. Now,
and I think it's cool because on some level, Zach got to do the first half of the race,
right,
and then a whole, Dean. So like, as youth getting experience, like, there's 3 of them that did the whole GODZone, and then there's like, 2 of them that each got to do half, and just made it more of that kind of team camaraderie, which I think is fantastic.
And kudos to the race organizer, to your point, Jason, kudos to them for allowing that to happen. Clearly it knocks you out of official, all those other things that go with that. But the fact that they wanted to keep you on the course and they wanted to let you enjoy the experience and they allowed that really speaks to who they are as a race directing team.
Well, and what I heard from Andy, I don't know if it's true, but he was like, well, of course, when I asked them, they were like, heck yeah, we'd rather there be, 4 18-year-olds out there than just 3. Like, they're crazy for doing this anywhere on their own. So like, the more the merrier. Just like,
bring in 2 more. Get 6 of them out there.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and it really helped the team dynamics when, we were pretty sad that Zach had to get helicoptered out. Like, that was very much a low point, and we were we were sad about Zach's hit. But obviously that means we were unranked, but then we kind of turned it into a positive, like, oh my God, like, not many people are actually going to finish the full course because the course is just so hard. Like, I think 15 teams finished the full course, and we pretty much did the full course, apart from we kind of just cut around a little bit. Like, I'd say we'd probably done the full course safe, and like, pretty much.
We cut 10Ks off it.
Yeah. Which is nothing.
It's a fraction of the overall race distance.
It actually makes it a 700. 700 is a nicer number. So 710 kilometers doesn't sound as good as
Nobody remembers the 10. So it was 700.
So you subbed out Zach.
Dean came in.
Right. You brought in Dean. So did you think, after you lost Zach, were you in the space where like the race was over? Did you think you were going to be just transported off the race course?
No, I seriously had a gut feeling that we were always going to carry on.
You kind of knew.
I know. Yeah. Like, I knew that you can carry on with 3 people, but we always had like someone that was like, Finn's dad could have jumped in for the pack crafting. Like, the pack crafting is kind of the thing you need for 4 people. So we always knew that we were going to continue, I think, like one way or another.
Me and Josiah were.
Wait, I have an important question now, like because I want to hear it, because I was in contact with Andy and Keegan, who's like the media guy, also 16-year-old, helping you guys. And so I heard when you guys were coming in to, I think it was the bike stage before the Serpentine River, which is that trek and or maybe it was coming in off the Serpentine River, but I heard from a pretty reliable source that the 4-person team had decided to get to that TA and drop out. Like, that you all decided as a team, like, we're going to drop out. But then you rolled into the TA. There was a bunch of people high-fiving you to the TA. Nobody said anything. You just did transition and carried on. I just want to hear about that.
We came off that was on the Serpentine River League, that was just a slow, just a demoralising league. We were still going to carry on, but we were planning on skipping the 100K bike stage that we were planning on just flagging, because we also thought that the race cutoff that the the course closure was gonna mean that we wouldn't have time to finish the full course. But Keegan was walking with us, and he was saying that the course closure was a day. I don't know how we'd got muddled up, but we thought it was a day earlier than what it was, and he said that he told us that it was a day later than what we thought, and we sort of looked at each other and thought that we're like, oh, we'll hate ourselves if we get to the finish line and we've still got a day to go and we've missed 100 Ks of biking. That meant we didn't do the full course. So like, oh shit, it'd be pretty rude not to just carry on and do the whole thing.
And so clearly you were going to be taken off the course. You were not going to voluntarily walk off the course.
No. We thought that the race finished on the Friday, but then we got told that the race finished on the Saturday. So we were like, oh my God, well, we kind of have to do that bike ride now because like we'd be finished a day way too early. And we were all saying like, we would imagine if we finished with like enough time to do that bike ride, we'd be so annoyed at ourselves.
Right.
So
you'd be at the finish line with time on your hands, but you wouldn't be able to go to do it. Okay.
Yeah. So we're like, right, let's just do it. Like, who cares? We're already unranked. Let's just go and do this bike ride. And we actually I think we all really enjoyed that bike ride, even though we were kind of thinking we didn't want to do it. No, we did. I think we enjoyed that last like 10 minutes.
Well,
downhill.
Yeah. I think that late in the race, the idea of enjoy is a relative term.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
The GODZone organisers thought it was a great idea to send us on about 15 Ks of train tracks. We had to bike on the train tracks. So we were all on hard XC bikes, just absolutely rattling our teeth out on the train tracks, which I didn't enjoy personally. I don't know if Molly enjoyed it, but
no, not
personally it sucked. Yeah. And then Josiah on the last sort of there's 10 Ks of flat at the end, and we came down a hill just onto those flats, and Josiah got to the bottom of the hill, and he's like, oh shit, my chain fell off, and he looks back and his derailleur hanger had broken. So we're like, oh shit, now what do we do? But we ended up just towing him like a dead weight into the transition.
What happened was then we found this car and they chucked a dog lead out the window and gave it to Fynn. So then Fynn towed Josiah with a dog lead.
Wait, let's back up. A passing car threw you a dog lead?
Yeah, we had mates that were driving along beside us going, yeah, go and cheering us on. And then Josiah's derailleur hanger broke. And we're like, oh shit, now what do we do? And they had a dog lead in their car, so we borrowed their dog lead and clipped it onto my seat, and Josiah hung onto the dog lead, and off we went.
Now, how long did you tow? How long did you have your friend Josiah on a dog lead?
I think it was about 10 Ks just along the bottom, just along the flats.
And was that into the finish?
There was about 10 Ks of flat once we got to the bottom of the hill. So that 10 K.
And then did that take you into the finish, or was there even more after that?
Took us into the transition. Yeah. Okay. The finish of the bike league. Yeah.
And then was it a trek to the finish from there?
No. And then there was a 35K kayak out to the coast, and then there was a 20K beach run to the end.
And then finally it ended.
And we ran it.
And then
you ran it.
And then the end.
Yes.
Yeah. Flat out.
So obviously you went into the paddle, then you went into the final run in, and you ran the 20K on the beach. Walk us through, what did it feel like when you knew you were going to finish, right? At some point in the race, you know it's going to happen. You're getting across, right? You had lost Zach, you picked up Dean, you broke the derailleur hanger, you rode on the railroad tracks. You're going to finish. How did it feel coming into the finish line? Like, describe your emotions coming down that final 5K, 2K to the finish.
We were running, but there was a dark zone on that river. So on the kayak league previously, before the beach run, there was a dark zone on it, and so there was a big group of teams. So we were sort of just running and just hunting down these teams and just passing all these teams, and we're just loving like after an 8.5 day race, we're just like passing a team every 2 minutes and just like it was just like a 2-hour blooming cross country race at the end. But we were hunting down one last team. We're going flat out to try and get them just before the finish line. So it was sort of took up all of our attention.
I will tell you that if I'm sitting there and if 4 teenagers blow by me at the end of an 8-day race, I might have tackled you.
Yeah.
That's what we were saying. We were like, all right, let's just pass all these teams. I'm pretty sure we passed like 10 teams on that
old man Gatons. See you later.
And all of the teams are just like walking, and we were just like, well, I was on like five pills of Panadol because my feet were in so much pain. So I was just like, I was in no pain at that time. And I was like, we were just like running past these teams. And then Andy saw us on the last, like, what was it, 1K or something? And there was a team just like they started running when they saw us. And then what did Andy say they were? They were like rabbits, and we were like,
they were rabbits and we were the hounds or something. We had to chase them down.
I tell you, I would have been so mad if I'm trying to finish this 8-day race and you're coming down behind me. I would have been like, "Come on, what are you doing? Making me run near the end of the race." So
we got a few pretty dirty looks from some people.
So was there? So I had read somewhere that you slept for 7 hours at one point and you had a rush to make it.
Yeah, we had a bit. That wasn't really planned. We on that Serpentine River where we stopped and slept, and we set the alarm for 2 hours sleep or whatever. And I think was it Molly, you were on the alarm, and Molly must have woken up and said to Josiah, "Oh, should we just have another hour?" And I think Josiah, that sounded like a pretty good idea. So, but I don't think the alarm got set for the next hour, so it ended up being 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah. So then the next alarm. What happened was I put it on a timer, and I'm used to having the alarm noise and on my watch. So then obviously it was just, my brain was just like, and then I was like, all right, guys, it's time to wake up. Then I was like, 1 more hour. And I was like, okay. So then I don't know what happened, but the next alarm was the 6 a.m. alarm that we had like 3 days before. So we were just kept on sleeping. It's like my watch wasn't like on the, the daily alarm.
I remember there being a few panicky posts on Facebook that were Jason, what's your memory of that 7 hour sleep?
I mean, I was just in contact with, Andy and Keegan, and like they knew you were probably going to sleep. It looked like you chose, I don't know what you chose. Like it was like you're just on the side of the river in some swamp. This is what Satellite looks like. We're like, that looks like a horrible place to sleep, but whatever. Everybody gets tired on the paddle. And then, I was used to waking up and looking at the tracker and knowing that it was like 3 hours early. So if I woke up at 6 or 7, I'd go get on the trainer and like watch you guys while I was doing my workout, which, is a nice way to do it in the morning, but you're not moving. So then I come home, have coffee, you're still not moving. And I'm like, okay, is their tracker broken? What's going on? I'm calling Andy. He's like, no, they're not. Like, I don't know. So we were all just wondering, it was pretty funny that there was a lot of chatter back and forth with some of your fans. And,
yep.
and
oh yeah, I remember that. I was following along on Facebook.
What's going on? Like, what are they doing? We were venting also, like maybe you had a pack raft that like you're trying to repair it, and who knows? But I heard
we were comfortable.
You were comfortable.
You were just sleeping.
Were you sleeping in the pack rafts or like pack rafts on top of you?
No, our pack raft almost blew away.
Yeah,
windy.
We sort of just flopped out of them and left our pack rafts beside the river, and we just got the fly. We had a tent fly, and we didn't put the tent up. We just put the tent fly on the ground to sort of keep us from getting wet, and we all just lay on the tent fly and sort of in sleeping bags just underneath just with nothing on top of us, and went to sleep. It's sort of warm enough that we stayed asleep.
And then you got to run the last 20K and just hunt down all the teams, right?
So Jason, that's actually there's a new sleep strategy in town, right?
Yeah.
Sleep for 7 hours in the middle of a race. That's what you have to do.
Well, the funny thing is, it reminds me when we got like fell apart in Fiji, and climbed that big mountain and Dan had fallen apart. Like, we'd on top of this mountain, we finally got there, and we slept because Dan couldn't move anymore. And I remember all these kind of back of the pack teams passing us, seeing it is Bend Racing. And I remember some of the teams we know that were like, oh, we thought this was like some clever sleep strategy to like sleep all night on the first night. So maybe with these guys and us doing it, it can become, like a secret strategy. You just sleep and then you run really fast to pass everybody. Because it is fun passing people, right? And think, if you guys hadn't have slept for 7 hours, you would have had a lot less teams to pass. And so you basically just gave yourself so many rabbits to catch on that last day, which is pretty cool.
It's incredible where you can sleep. Like, I've actually slept terribly this week. Like, I haven't slept very good this week, and I'm like, maybe I should just chuck a sleeping bag out on the lawn, because I slept much better on the GODZone than I have this past week.
Well, let's get to that in a second, because I am curious about your post-race experience. But let's finish the race up. So you have the pack raft, you have the 20K run on beach. You pass all these angry, spiteful older people, and then you finish the race, right? You come across. How did it feel coming across? Now, I think Zach joined you, right? He tried to run across with you, and you all finished together?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty cool being able to finish this as all 5 of us. It wasn't just all 4 of us and Zach got left out. So, no, it was just a pretty cool feeling that it was done. We didn't have to keep moving anymore.
So talk to us now about the post-race experience. Obviously, I'm assuming, being the youngest team to do GODZone and doing so well, mind you, right? Doing so well, and all challenges aside, you tackled a bear of a course and you did great on it. How has the post-race reception been? Are your families are obviously proud. Andy's very proud. What else have you been hearing from people about your experience?
Pretty overwhelming coming back to kind of the real world. Like, we had so many people messaging us and everything. Like, it was really cool to see how many people actually followed the race. Like, even just like the random people that like were at our primary school that were following the race that said, "Oh my gosh, I was following you guys, well done." But like, yeah, it was pretty awesome, the response that so many people were watching us. But I think for Fynn as well, and the rest of the boys have been very, very hungry this week.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird.
Well, it's all when you get back from a race like that, you sleep a lot and you eat a lot.
Yeah, literally.
I've been eating like 6 meals a day for the last 5 days.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, like I've had chips and peanut butter beside my bed because I wake up too hungry to even like it's so weird. Like, oh my god.
Are your clothes looser? Did a lot of weight fall off you?
No, not for me.
I didn't really have any. Yeah, neither. I didn't really have anything to lose. Really, I wasn't carrying much fat into the race, so I might have lost 2 kgs, but I'll put it back on now. Just
very nice.
Parking up and eating.
Yeah, I understand.
So are you in school now? Like, did you miss school to go race?
Yeah, I miss school to go race. Yep, I'm still in school.
So how did that? So it's interesting. So I work in a school. So I have to. So first things first. If a student said to me, Brian, I'm gonna miss 10 days of school because I have to go do this massive race, I'd be like, go get them. Have a great time. We don't mind you missing it. Was that the same general response that you got in your schools? Were people cheering you on? Did your classmates follow along? Like, how did that go?
Yeah. No, it was pretty good. Like, when I was sort of before the race, none of the teachers really knew what it was, and they sort of just said, "Yeah, go for it. You'll learn more out there than you will at school." But yeah. And then after the race, like it's amazing how many people were following it. Like, all the teachers had been on the tracker, and all my heaps of classmates had been pretty into it, just following it. It's good that it's so well covered with media, and the tracking and stuff is pretty good. It gets a lot of people into it.
Here's the question. What's been harder, doing GODZone or doing all the missed schoolwork? What's been harder for you?
I've probably neglected the missed schoolwork, so probably still GODZone, but yeah, the missed schoolwork it's a bit of a battle, but no, I'll just probably the grades will go down a wee bit, but that's right. you make sacrifices.
So
Yeah, it was worth it.
Coming from adventure racing families and being sort of growing up inside the culture, when you went into GODZone, you both had preconceived notions about what the race would be like and what you would experience and what it would all feel like to you. Now that you've entered the race, you've done it, and now you've had a chance to reflect upon it, how accurate were your pre-race assumptions about how the race was going to go? Did they line up, or was it a brand new experience for you?
You got him. You got him.
Well, Dad was a wee bit different compared to what other people have raced. Like, he's almost died like twice on the GODZone. so my I suppose GODZone whatever was like, oh my god, this is so scary. But therefore it was much easier than what my dad went through. But I think that's only because I didn't experience what he did. So I guess it was easier than what I was expecting. But I think it was probably the best. It's definitely like the best 8 days of my life. Like, the amount of experience we have as an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old and 19-year-olds are way more than what the average teenager in New Zealand and in the world actually gets to experience. Like, we see some incredible country that no one else gets to experience. So I think that's pretty cool thing to have under your belt.
A bit the same. Like, I had done like sort of 3 days sort of stuff. So I'd encountered the whole sleep deprivation stuff, but not quite to the same level. But yeah, it was probably lined up with my expectations, I guess, like how hard it was and how you just had to keep telling yourself to keep on going and stuff. But I guess, like, yeah, we were so sort of grateful that we'd had the opportunity to do it and that we're going so well the whole time, that we're sort of riding the wave of I guess good feelings and stuff, that we're just, yeah, we sort of got through it pretty well.
What are your next races? What do you have coming up?
I think Andy's lined us up with a few. There's a 48-hour, it's called the True West race that Nathan Favre is putting on the West Coast. So I think Andy's pretty keen for us to go to that. And I think there's mutterings about getting an invite to Expedition Oregon that Jason puts on, so which would be pretty awesome.
I'm super in support of, and it's been fun watching my brother and myself a little bit kind of help youth do crazy things, for the last 20 years. And this is just like the pinnacle example of what you guys are doing and kind of the future of the sport and really just the future of not even just adventure racing, just like, you guys are already on the path to learning so much and being pretty remarkable humans. So we would love to, I have faith that you guys would finish the Expedition Oregon course, and it's probably going to have about the same finish rate as GODZone. So I actually have a question for you, 2 questions before I forget. One is, how many years until you guys beat Avaya? Let's just be honest. Let's just cut to the chase. How many years before Avaya and you start working? 1, 2? It's not very long.
Depends how much Avaya slow down as they get older, probably.
Because you guys are planning on speeding up, right?
Yeah, we're planning on speeding up, but they might have to slow down a little bit to match us. I don't know. It's probably just the experience of just sort of transitions and that was probably our weak point, is just our efficiency and stuff like that comes with experience of doing stuff like that. Like just having the ability to not stop to do things like Avaya. They're just so methodical and efficient and everything. They're pretty well drilled process. So yeah, it's just getting to that stage and then the speed will come with it, hopefully.
Right. So, Nathan wants to know. So he wants a number. Does he have 3 years? Does he have 2 years?
He wants a number.
What? Yeah, just kind of what do you guys do?
When I get him on the podcast, I'm going to start with that question. We're glad you're here, Nathan. Thanks for coming aboard. By the way, Team Fear's coming for you. How many years do you think you got left? That'll be the first question I'll ask you.
We just have to knuckle down. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, Andy and stuff said that they had, like, different packs and stuff, and they'll literally get in transition and grab another pack and away they go. Like,
they actually had different. I think they had different pack rests too at one point.
They could pack rests too. Yep.
Yeah,
they
double up some.
I will be the first to
ever race.
That I love my brother. I think he's an amazing athlete. Like, you couldn't have a better mentor, but he's never been that fast at transition. So, you know, so you may have to talk to Adrian or one of your other mentors to really get you dialed in. Andy gets a little frantic in transition because he gets so excited to get back out there.
Yeah, even
that's actually spot on advice.
We saw a bit of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. I mean, moving through transitions, if you watch Avaya in transition or any teams, they only touch their items once. They barely stop. They come in, they change, they go right back out. And they just pick up hours and hours and hours. They're so steady.
Just in transition.
I feel like, sorry.
Go ahead.
I feel like we transition is definitely our weak point, but like, I suppose it was our first ever long race that now we know and we can just learn and grow from what we like can now, you know, we know that we have to be faster at transitions and stuff like that. And I know that I need to look after my feet on day one of the race, not wait until they're terrible before fixing them. So just little things like that will just make us that little bit faster and better for next time.
Well, you can almost categorize GODZone, and for as big a race as it was very much like a practice race for you, right? It was your first time at this distance, learning all of those things, nutrition, feet, sleep strategy, all of that.
Yeah,
it was an experiment race. We're just experimenting on what would happen past the 2-day mark. So yeah, it was good.
And surely starting at 18 and 16 and stuff, like when we get to the age of Avaya, surely would be better because we have way more experience than them.
I mean, honestly, in 10 years, you guys are still going to be young guns in like the adventure racing world, and you're going to have. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of my teammate Daniel, who started racing when he was 16. Granted, it wasn't with a team of teenagers, but like, you know, by the time he got to be 26 and now 36, he'd been racing for 20 years and he's not even really in his physical prime. You know, so like I can't keep up with him anymore. So it's a pretty remarkable thing where you guys are at. And so because there are some people in America that think that what makes Kiwis fast, and I think this is just wishful thinking, but I just want to get some advice or some key phrases from you guys, because a lot of people think what makes the Kiwi racers fast is the way that they talk, like their phrases. They have like cool phrases, good on you, like just that it's casual. Like whenever I see Chris Forn out there on a race course, it never seems like he's working hard. He's just like, when they interview him in the media after some horrendous track, he's like, oh, it's a nice wee little Sunday walk. And you're like, that's not true. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But, you know, I really like seeing the videos of like these Kiwi racers after these horrible stages, which we're watching and hearing about. And then they come in and they're just like, they're not chuffed about anything. Chuffed is a thing. Like, I don't know, like what are some of your favorite phrases so we can sound like you as Americans when we're having a hard time and we can like pull in the Kiwi spirit of adventure racing?
So let me ask that on that question. And that's a really good question you asked there, Jason. The idea that there's New Zealand, in the world of adventure racing, New Zealand has a special place and people think highly of it. And I know that there's school programs that are built around that there's a bit of a league and there's teams that go at each other. I know there's a lot of youth work. What advice would you give to schools outside of New Zealand to help develop that sense of optimism and positivity that you think that we could take from your culture?
That's a good question. I suppose, I don't know. Well, I've definitely, and probably Fynn, have grown up around the outdoors and stuff. So we're used to pushing ourselves. But I suppose just actually, even if you just go for a bike ride or a walk, it doesn't have to be 60 hours. That's a bit extreme. But like, even if you just get out and explore your backyard, I don't know what it's like in America because I've never really raced or done anything in America, but I assume that you guys have tracks around and mountains and stuff that you can go. Like if you start little and then you meet people along the way and then you get their contacts and then you kind of just start from there, I suppose.
Sure. Well, it sounds as if New Zealand has a very strong cultural connection to each other, that you're one large tribe, and adventure racing is part of that. The outdoors is built into New Zealand, the ethic of the people.
The adventure theme, I guess, is just everyone's like keen on getting outdoors and going exploring places that, like, even if it's not racing, just exploring and going and so into uncharted places and stuff. It's pretty strong. Well, it's pretty big in New Zealand. So yeah, and that we've got such a big backyard that's so easy to go and find your own chunk of place that nobody's been to. So yeah.
One of my best friends, Kate Matthews, is she's from New Zealand. She's actually home right now for a wedding, and she was able to get around COVID and get there, and she's isolated and she's home, and she hasn't been home in 4 years. She's out near Mount Taranaki with her family, and one of the greatest people I know. Right, no problem that comes across her plate is unsolvable or it can't be addressed. There's always a solution. There's always some way to figure it out. And I think that ethic, which feels to be bred into people of New Zealand, spills into your adventure racing. Because if you notice, during our interview tonight, at no point did you talk about a part of the race being too much for you.
No, we never really. Yeah, there's like so when Zach's hits were getting too bad and stuff, we're sort of just always trying to work out ways of getting around it. If it ended up getting chopped out, but we were still keen to carry on. So yeah, it's just, I guess.
Fantastic. You guys,
I think we're all quite positive people. I think and I suppose kind of we're the minority. Like not many people get to do this, so we were kind of like, oh my god, this is quite cool. Like, yeah, we were all always in a pretty positive mind.
And as a result of that, you're able to. You become part of a tribe, and the positivity exists, and as a result, you solve all these problems together. I have to tell you, I work with young people for a living. I work with a lot of 18-year-olds, a lot of 16-year-olds, hundreds of them, to be honest. And you should be, and I don't think you need to hear this from me, but I want to say it. You should be very, very proud of the people that you are and the way that you represent your families and your country.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for joining us on the Dark Zone. Jason, before we say goodbye, anything from your end you want to say?
I just want to reiterate to the Fear Youth team that, you've got a huge fan base over here, and I'm the number one American fan. I just want to make sure people know that. It's a pleasure to have met, I haven't actually met these two. I'm really excited to meet them, but I've had the pleasure of actually training and doing some fun WTF race stuff with Josiah and Zach and a few of the other on the team. And they're just all such remarkable people. Not even, it's easy to label them as kids or teenagers or youth, but they're just all such amazing people. And the thing that keeps striking me about this team, and it's a cool similarity to see between, because I've got to hang out and meet some of the Avaya folks that have always been a big inspiration in adventure racing. But it really is like you brought up, the positivity, right? The way that they work together as a team, the way that they really enjoy being out there together on the ups and the downs, when it's great, when they're struggling, that it really is this idea of, remarkable teamwork. And so it is a testament to what the sport helps bring out in people, but also a testament to Fear Youth as a team. And I'm just super excited to see where they go.
Exactly. Well, Fear Youth, thanks a lot for joining us. Can't wait to see you out there. Good luck making all that schoolwork. Perfect. All right. Don't fall behind in your studies. Stay in school, kids. All right, guys. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So much.
See ya.
Thank you, Molly, Fynn, and Jason, for your time, storytelling, and wisdom. All of us at the Dark Zone enjoy bringing adventure racing into your life, and thank you, listeners, for choosing to spend your time with us. If you've enjoyed this episode, please pay a visit to your podcast streaming platform of choice and leave us a review. That is the best way to spread the word. Also, always feel free to reach out to me, Brian, at ardarkzone.com. Your feedback and suggestions are always welcome. Thank you, listeners, for joining us at the Dark Zone. Have fun out there.